it's crazy how people are not putting more effort into Substack. Like recommendations and note is like 40% right now. 40 to 50% of our growth every month comes from Substack ecosystem as a whole. So like don't be afraid to monetize right away. Maybe you have a skill that I would love to know and I would love to pay for it. Even if I'm the only subscriber you have, maybe you do something really cool and I want to pay for it. I think don't be afraid to test and try and monetize your skills, and I think you'll have a surprise because you'll start noticing that a lot of people will be interested in learning what you know, and for you it's simple, for other people it's not.
Luis, great to have you here on the show.
Thank you, Jared.
So let's first talk about your Substack newsletter, the AI Break. What were some of the key strategies for you that helped you reach more than 90,000 subscribers?
Yeah, sure. We can talk a little bit from also the beginning. So we started the newsletter around 2023, which was almost after ChatGPT came along, in November 2022. So I think was the right timing as well for us to start writing. I think in the beginning was, kind of a side project just for fun. I think people at home were tired of hearing us talk about ChatGPT. So we just started writing on Substack. And I think initially it was a lot of just word of mouth. We were because of work also in WhatsApp groups and Slack groups on like founders communities and marketing communities, which is our background. So a lot in the beginning, a lot of the growth was just, WhatsApp groups, Slacks, DMing on LinkedIn. And that's what we did for quite a while. Then Rui and I, we also have experience working in the past with like massive outreach. So then we started applying that as well. So we started outreaching to a lot of founders, a lot of CEOs, especially in the United States, because we knew that's where it was starting. That's where there was a lot of interest. And we were just like literally just inviting people, no strings attached, nothing. We're just saying, hey, we're just talking about AI. Can you, do you like to join? And I think we got a lot of people in the beginning from that. And then a key thing for us was we also started monetizing newsletter pretty early. So we start just opening some slots for, without much expectations, but we created a passion fruit page and we just start opening, just saying on the newsletter, if you want to work with us, here is the link. Again, also because of the timing, we started getting quite some people interested on it, and all that little extra revenue we were making, we start investing all in paid ads. And that's really our background. So that's what we're really comfortable of. And we started doing a lot, and all the money we were making, we were investing. That's where we saw a big jump then in growth. And so that's what we did for quite a while, and we still do on the paid ads. Then just, I think for context, we moved from Substack to Beehive because we wanted to try some growth tools that they had, and, that you pay for subscribers from recommendations and stuff. To be honest, personally, we don't think that worked too much because it got to a point where, every single newsletter was doing the same. So one paid subscriber is going to all. Open rates were not that great. Quality was not that great. So and interesting enough, we were growing more because we left our newsletter on Substack just waiting while we moved to Beehive to try. We were growing more organically on Substack via recommendations than we were doing on Beehive. So we moved everything back. We start doing or continue to do our own paid advertisement, which is one of the biggest growth. And then we started to invest also a lot on the Substack community because it started really growing, right? In the past, there was no Substack notes, nothing like that. And we start getting people recommending our newsletter without us even asking. And then when we started really approaching other newsletters at the same level, just exchanging recommendations, and then we started betting more on Substack notes. So I would say as a big thing. So in the beginning, it was a lot manual, word of mouth. Also the timing was right. But then I would say right now, our main levers of growth are one, paid ads, and the other one, the actual Substack ecosystem. Like it's crazy how people are not putting more effort into Substack. Like recommendations and notes is like 40% right now. 40 to 50% of our growth every month comes from Substack ecosystem as a whole. So that's, I think, I don't know if I forgot anything, but I think what the key things that we've been just doing, and then consistently over the years,
I think that was one also the key, which is we used to write one time a week, and then we upped the frequency. I think it was one time we were writing every single day. And if you go check backwards, and we'll talk a little bit about monetizing, and we shift a little bit also on our newsletter because we started that, and it's still the main growth, which is most on the news side. So we keep the news for people. It's really easy to read about AI. We have some tools and so on. But we also start, and we'll talk about that on the monetization side, which is we also start doing tutorials, starting to launch products as well for people. So that's where we actually started to found that Substack is also growing that part as well. And as we said, as we were on the beginning, recommendations started to actually come organically. So we didn't have to reach too much because there was not a lot of AI newsletters in Substack specifically, right? There's super big ones on Beehive and so on. So that's why I think we start growing, and then we have like 20 people recommending us, and then 50. I think now we have maybe 200 or 300. Organically, basically. Now, of course, we are focusing, as I said, as Louis said, this was a side project. Now it's kind of our main, main business. I will say even bigger than the agency that we run on paid side. But as I said, I think the timing was super important because right now is different. Now I think everything changed. Like you need to be more laser focused. Of course, paid ads is massive for us, but if we remove those parts where we have to spend now money and time, is not as easy as it used to be. So we see this, and I think that was all the combinations that brought us to the the 90K subscribers we currently have.
That's really interesting. So you basically were creating like a flywheel for yourself, where initially you did a lot of, directly messaging people and getting subscribers by directly approaching them, but by then quickly monetizing the newsletter and reinvesting all of that revenue into ads, then you were creating this flywheel, right, to grow your newsletter. Can we talk a little bit more about the ads that you were actually using? What type of ads were newsletter ads or social media ads? What were most effective for you?
Yeah, I think that one thing that we realize is that, and you know it as well, which is the more you start adding to the newsletter, right? You start seeing that it's like a funnel, right? So you know that when people enter, even if they stay longer on the free and they just want to read about it, they usually start, buying from you or seeing you as a credibility in the space. So Luis and I understood that if we can bring free people to the newsletter, then we will eventually sell in the long run, right? So we test a lot of things. Of course, I will not gonna lie. So we normally do two things, which is the free subscriber side. So we run ads mainly offering something for people on the welcome email. So when they enter, right? So all of our ads are mainly focused on that free side, and we also have ads specifically for paid tutorials. So for example, when we have the paywall, right, like when people need to pay for it. So when we start doing tutorials about AI, we start doing paid ads for it. To be honest, we actually see more return and more on the long run on the free side, just because for you to have an idea, on our paid side, we usually pay like around maybe $30 per acquisition, right? And I'm talking about mainly Facebook, so Meta ads, just
Okay.
to be clear. So mainly Facebook and Instagram. We are opening now to other platforms. So we are testing different things, but the main one majority is Meta, so Facebook and Instagram, right? So we did a lot of paid ad for the paid subscriber side, but the return was always like we were paying probably like double or triple the amount of people pay on the newsletter, which is fine for us, like because we understood if people stay 2 months or 3 months, we're already paying back. So when we want, we kind of open up a little bit of floodgate on the paid side just to bring more paid advertisers, paid members. But the majority of our money right now is on the free side, just because the more we add tutorials now, I don't know, Luis, how many we have. I think we have like maybe 30 or 40 tutorials already that people can read. We have a course as well on AI image generation. We have a school community. We are trying to add more stuff into that paid side so people can have more value. So the more we add, I think the more we can spend on the free side. You know what I mean? Like, so the more things we have and more people see on the value side, the more we can do it. And now with the UGC ads, so AI ads, of course, we are seeing a massive decrease on cost per click. So we used to pay $3, $2 to $3 per subscriber, especially on the US. So we always like to split US and Europe. That's the main target we have at the moment. And the US was kind of, I will not say expensive, they are quality. So totally fine for us to pay $1 to $3. But when we now we add a couple of AI UGC ads, people talking on podcasts and all that stuff, cool things, recommending our newsletter, which is kind of funny, right? It's AI, but we went from $3 to 80 cents.
Wow, that's
which
massive.
is which is crazy. Yeah. So Luis and I are going really, really deep diving on that because I think people understand it's AI or maybe not, but there's so many variables that you can use on AI that you don't need to pay now thousands of influencers and so on, right? Like you can create your own. So and it's not for us. We are seeing across the entire market that using AI for ads is massively decreasing the cost per lead. So we saw that opportunity. Now we are just pushing more on it, but also being careful with if we are also growing the revenue side. So it doesn't matter for us to have a lot of free subscribers if we cannot grow the other side. So we always try to keep an eye. Of course, Substack doesn't have a lot of analytics. Now they are better. 2 years ago was really difficult, but we always try to keep an eye on that. But but pretty simple. As I said, the key thing is what we offer. I think some ads are just like, oh, do you want to learn AI? The basic stuff, right? Do you want to learn AI? Here is 5 minutes by I think you can read with AI ads, or we always try to go for an angle to give something to people. Like if we have an automation, for example, for LinkedIn, we offer on the welcome email, we put that on the ad. We have a full free course on ChatGPT that we also offer for people, so we advertise that. So anything that we have that we offer, I think we just finished building like a prompt vault with like 500 prompts. Now we offer as well for people. So what I mean. So we're trying to go to those angles, but they need to subscribe either way. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's the key thing. And I believe if Substack had landing pages like Beehive, that it doesn't. I think we can even go further and like even cheaper on the cost per subscriber. We are waiting for that
Yeah.
feature, but we think we can go even cheaper
That would
than
be a
that.
game changer. If the moment Substack introduces landing pages, I think the conversion rate can skyrocket, right? And I mean, they're already adding a bunch of cool new features. They've added
Yeah.
these email automations recently, these drip campaigns, which is also a game changer, I think. But it sounds like from you're incentivizing people to subscribe also because you're offering these lead magnets, right? And if you can actually showcase that on a landing page, then conversion rate would skyrocket for sure. Let's talk a little bit about different ways you are monetizing your newsletter. So you mentioned you do ads and you have a paid tier. Are those the main monetization models, or do you also have other ways to monetize?
Yeah, so we currently have, I would say, three different parts of monetization. I think the main one is actually the last one we started, which is just paid subscribers, where via Substack, where people just pay or a monthly or a yearly fee to access our newsletter. And that's what Rui was mentioning. It was that we now do two tutorials, practical tutorials. I think also something that will really try to be practical for everyone to be able to use. From prompt to simple automations and like AI agent mode on ChatGPT, and we try to be a little bit current with what's going on and what people are using, the nano banana stuff and all those kind of things. But we launch two AI tutorials every single week, so that are for our paid users. But I know Substack, right? So we always try a lot of the times do the paywall thing, which is we try to give some value to the free users. And then if they want to continue seeing the rest, or if they wanted to get the file or whatever it is, then that's only for our paid subscribers. Then they also have access to our school community, where we talk a bit more in depth about automations using Make, especially Make.com. So that's what it was. The last one we started. I think we started, correct me, Rui, I think it was December last year or November last year, and we started just to try Substack and to try a couple of things. And now that's the main, I would say, consistent revenue driver of the newsletter, and that's where we're getting the most growth. Then we have the sponsors, which we started really early on, and it's really simple. So we have almost everything automated on that side. So we have not only on our newsletter people can work with us, but as I mentioned too, we also have outreach campaigns, outreaching to new tools on Product Hunt or whatever it is, just saying, hey, it's our newsletter. It's kind of a soft task, right? We're not like are you interested just seeing our media kit? That's it. And we have a simple passion fruit page, which is a tool where you can manage the sponsorships. That's quite, as you mentioned, it's quite volatile. Some monsters are really good, some monsters not. Like it really depends on also what's going on in the news and what kind of tools are launching stuff, and it really depends. And then I think the third bucket is something that we are starting now to slowly develop, which is, I would say, the affiliate / our own products, right? So we always did affiliate just because also the tools we use, so we have affiliates with Apify. We use a lot of Apify, right? And Mate.com and those kind of things. And so some of the tools, and some of them reach out to us and give it a try, like Luma Labs and those kind of things. So we have a couple of affiliates tools that we work with, and if we feel it's right and we use them, we recommend to people. But that's a tiny bit. And then I'll say the third bucket is our own products. So we started with doing a course around actually just product imagery, and that's the biggest one. We created some custom GPTs back then. We're really focused on specific things, like for LinkedIn creation, on content creation stuff that we also used to sell as well. So we tried to do a couple of things our own, like we did some Chrome extensions and stuff. But I think with the growth of the paid newsletter, we start adding our own products as value to the users, So I think our products now, we are really focused on, or we do a full independent thing, with a purpose, like the image generation or creating UGC ads for whatever is quite unique. Other than that, like anything we work for ourselves, like any custom GPTs, prompt, everything. I think we're right now more and more focused on just giving that as value to everyone that is subscribing to our newsletter. I think those are the kind of the three. So the paid newsletter, which is a big one, so sponsors, and then our own products / affiliates, but affiliates is a really small amount. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anything, but I think those are kind of the three big buckets.
Yeah.
And Substack is great on the paid side, for sure.
I think that, as I said, like our main key even is just to grow the audience itself. Just because then we can sell so many other things. We also had some projects for doing AI audits, for example, for
That's
companies.
True. Forgot that services.
Yeah. So
yeah.
so
how can I forget that? Yeah.
So we don't technically, well, we actually have, like, on the menu, say if you want to get an audit, we actually have a landing page for that. So on the service side, we don't promote it as much, but it's there. So from time to time we have, and that's kind of like, I would say, a little bit higher tier, which is, audit services, make an automation for companies, but it's not kind of our main goal, to be honest. It's just that is there. Maybe something that we need to work on more like a higher tier, because we also understand that the paid subscribers, as I said, it's smaller amounts, but it's compounding per month. But it's also smaller amounts, right? It's not like a 2K service or a 5K service. So we understand that, but I think Luis and I, it's easier for us to give more, to just put more volume on that. And then, of course, is there, maybe sometime we will pick it for real and maybe add some more stuff. But even as Luis said, even our outreach at the moment is mainly focused on the newsletter. Not like we are pitching a service or AI, but the newsletter itself gives a lot of credibility as well. Like we just finished jumping on a call for an AI audit as well, and they are reading our newsletter for, I think, almost a year. So it's easier even to talk about it and the service itself, because they are reading us for a really long time. So we also believe that is just an asset. So even if you don't sell any service now, I think the only question for me is like, oh, it will be AI gone forever? No. So maybe it's okay that we don't just focus right away, but it's an asset. So we'll probably be focusing that, but we have a goal on the paid side. And we have tried to reach that goal. I think we are, I don't know the numbers now, but I think we almost at 500 paid subscribers at the moment.
What's your goal?
Our goal is the 100K annual recurring mark on the paid side.
Nice.
And we are, I don't know, Luis, how much it is. I think we are 8K to go. So it's really almost there.
Should be doable before the end of the year.
Yeah, we hope so. Yeah. That'll be our goal. Yeah.
I find it really interesting what you said about your newsletter is the main focus, rather than, for example, pitching one of your services. And that basically, by putting so much effort and focus in your newsletter, that almost does the selling for you, whether it is some of your courses or your services. I think that's a bit of a rewiring for maybe a lot of, let's say, coaches or consultants who might be very focused on pitching their services early on. But if you focus on growing your newsletter and creating content and you have your subscribers following you for weeks or months, that builds so much trust that that can automatically lead to a sale, right? If you have create those entry points to your offers, we find that with our publication, that's the same as well. We get a lot of high ticket coaching clients who come to us because they've been subscribed to the newsletter for months. And then it hardly requires any selling or pitching at all because the trust is already there. So I found that a very interesting remark. And also the fact that you have monetized your newsletter in so many different ways. Because if it's only through services, right, that's not scalable. Or if it's only through newsletter ads, that might not be too reliable. But by combining all of those different revenue streams, you're turning your newsletter into a very solid business, which I think is very, very good for other newsletter creators to really take away.
No.
One thing that I noticed when I went through your publication is what you do really well in those tutorials. You have those paywalls inserted at like 25% of the tutorial. So you can actually like already get a feel of what one of your tutorials is like and be invested in it. And then you hit that paywall and it's like, oh, I really want you had this one tutorial on how to turn ChatGPT into your personal assistant. And I was like reading it and then there was the paywall there and I was like, I need to know. And I think that was a very smart thing to incentivize people to really join your paid tier because they get a sense of what premium content feels like. Did you always do it that way or did you discover that that was an effective way to do it?
No, I think we tried different things. As we said, our main goal at the beginning was to use Substack as the newsletter platform, a little bit like Beehive. But our focus was not on Substack itself, like the notes, the paywall, you know what I mean? Like, so that's why Luis said, like, we just started, I think, last year on the paid side because our focus, like, oh, we want to send the newsletter. Our main focus even was sponsors back in the days and the service. But when we saw that paid side, we saw some, people like you guys as well, just talking about it. We were like, okay, what can we do for that? And as you know, there's a lot of different things you can give 7 days trial. You can, do just one time for free and then they have to pay for it. So we already tested the three of them. To be honest, we actually started with 7 days trial. And kind of funny enough, we had a lot of people coming in. Of course, a lot of people left as well because we're the 7 day trial. So it was not a lot of control for us. But as we also add the community, I think that was a key part of it. I'll say it's not like super engaging there. Like for us, the school community is more for taking questions and for people to go there and learn the automation side course, not exactly to be a community as people go on school for it. But what happened was we kind of find a way, I would say almost by mistake, for people to stay a little bit longer. So even with the 7 day trial, people will stay because not just because of the tutorial. So we see a lot of publication that you pay $9 or $10 and it's just the tutorial itself, right? The newsletter that you are waiting for. I think the main key for us was we offer different things besides just the tutorial. So you have a prompt vault as well that you need to go and read it. You have the Chrome extension, for example, that you can use with AI, and of course, and the school community as well. So I think people just stay a little bit longer to at least pay 1, 2, or 3 months, and that was the case. But to reply to your question, we started with 7 days. Then we found that a lot of people were missing, so we just said, oh, let's remove it for a while. And what we thought was, on the beginning we struggled, so we went a massive dip when we saw that. But then we start seeing that, as you said, the paywall for us was always like, and of course we took some notes from other newsletters as well, just to see what they were doing. And a lot of people were like, the paid tutorial is just for paid tutorials, for paid subscribers, and you have the free, right? So we saw a lot of people they doing like one tutorial free, one tutorial paid. But we also had the news. So it's a little bit different from all the other newsletters, which is people already receive from us the kind of the curate content every single week. So what we thought was maybe we don't need one free, one paid, or just for the paid side, because they already seeing us every single, like we do Tuesdays and Mondays and Thursdays. So they already seeing us. So we thought like, okay, let's see if we can push those people and try to put it on the middle. So I think that was just a testing thing, which is we didn't want to fully closed, because we test fully closed and it's not as high as the middle, of course, right? Because all of the paid subscribers watching it. So yeah, we kind of like was like testing stuff, and we have I think the tutorials are good because we normally offer a lot of prompting on video, so we kind of can put it on the middle. So
Mhm.
it's not just like here is one prompt. It's super small, the newsletter, right?
Yeah.
Like, so our tutorial, we can actually have more like do this, do this, do this, and here's, so we start seeing that, okay, we have 7 points, maybe we can give 3, and the other 4 are for, you know what I mean? Like, so we start seeing that the length of the newsletter was enough to do it. But just to let you know that when we have smaller tutorials, most of the time we just send to the paid members,
Mhm.
because we realize that it doesn't make sense to put a paywall just welcoming people like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
oh, paywall. That
Yeah.
that
You would
makes sense, right?
you would just send
And
it to
also,
them.
yeah, and also I think, it's also a bit, I would say, annoying for free users that are already getting, back in days where they were getting even three or four times, now they get 2 times, to now get like an email where you can't really read it. Like you're gonna read hi and then a paywall. And I think we even got, if I remember, Ria, I think we got even a couple of people commenting and sending us, not commenting, replying to our email and say, hey man, like what the hell? Like I don't wanna, why are you sending me this if I can't see it? Right.
Yeah.
And we took the feedback. He's actually right. The person is right to complain because he can't read anything and is receiving a blast. So we kind of start doing that. If it's big enough that we can give value for the free users as well,
Mm.
then we put a paywall. If it's not big enough, or we send, so we have two ways of saying, or we send just to the paid users, or we send it free for everyone. So tutorial free. And at the end, the only thing we say is, hey, did you like this tutorial? We actually do these, as you know, because you get with a paywall, where we get these, and usually we even give a discount. If you subscribe today, and get a discount. So we kind of try to balance. Sometimes we send it for free for everyone, just with a call to action. If it's like we really stopped after getting that feedback of just putting a paywall after a greeting, like
Yeah.
it wouldn't make sense.
Makes a lot of sense, but it's a thing that I see a lot of creators on Substack do, right? That they think, okay, let me just slap a paywall or make my article paid, but then not give like any context what the content is about and then send it out. And it's like, oh yeah, but then, your subscribers don't even know the value of the paid content. They don't get a feeling of the paid content. So I like your approach of either, if it's too short, either just send it only to the paid subscribers or make sure that at least part of it is accessible to free subscribers as well. That's valuable to them and incentivizes them to upgrade. I think that's very, very smart. I would say let's shift the conversation a little bit to AI itself, because it's such a thing that a lot of people in our audience are very interested in, but also some of them really struggle with it. So let's say for someone who is maybe a little bit intimidated by how fast AI is moving, they don't really know where to get started, they might feel a little bit behind already. What is your advice for someone to get started with AI as a content creator?
Okay. Yeah, it definitely, it's quite overwhelming even for us, right? Even for people in the space. But I think that it's just, I think, the problem is then people just don't start, right? Like they are either too afraid of it or it's too overwhelming and they just don't start like using it, at least in practical ways, right? So I think the first advice is at least be aware of it and aware of the news. And that could be, of course, or, subscribing to a newsletter like ours, or following a couple of creators on Twitter, or a subreddit on Reddit about OpenAI and stuff. But just to know, first of all, know at least the main news, right? What is ChatGPT launching? What is the impact on X? Whatever is out there, just be aware, and it doesn't take you long if you get some of these new newsletters and creators where they do like this kind of compilation of stuff. So I think that's step number one. And step number two is just like choose one simple thing and start using it every day. And it could be if you already have access from your work or from your job to Gemini or Claude or whatever it is, then use it. If not, just get a ChatGPT. Right now is probably the most balanced one, which has the most features across them all, right? So just get one and start using it like on the day to day. And even if you don't know how to use it, ask ChatGPT how to use it. Like I'm doing this, just talk to it, help. So, and I think that's the first step of just getting used to how you talk with those tools, how you get an output, what are the differences when we talk this way, when you talk that way. And so I think that's the most important thing. Start using it. Then of course you can go to YouTube and like we also have like our what we call ChatGPT like for beginners, which is just learn a little bit. Then after you start using it, be curious about how to get it better. And in this case, it's like prompting, right? How to get a better prompt, how to structure a better prompt. And these like these simple explanations, simple videos explaining how to do the role, the task, the context, and you start seeing that the outputs are different and the outputs are great. And I think that's kind of the first step, right? And then I think that after that is start looking at what will you do every single day and start thinking, because then you start getting that mentality of how can I use AI in my day to day, in my work, and then you're going to start finding tools that are specific for you, right? If you do creative, you're going to start finding stuff like Dreamlabs and FreePick and all those tools like that are specific for your problem. But even if you don't know, you can ask AI, right? You can ask ChatGPT, what are these, 2 or 3 tools that I can use on my workflows, and then you start using. And the cool stuff about majority of the tools out there is they have free plans. So it's no excuse for people not to try them, not to try some credits and stuff and see if they like it or not. But I think the main thing is one, just be aware of it. Like be aware of the news, because I know it's overwhelming, but you can subscribe to a newsletter like ours, or follow a couple of creators that we can even point out, or us. Just be aware. That's the first thing. Second, start using it. Doesn't matter. Like people get stuck on Gemini is better, Claude is better. Just choose one. Choose a free one. Start using. If you don't know, I'll tell you. Choose ChatGPT. Start with that. Start typing. Start even talking about some stuff of your work, how you can automatize, how it can help you. And then when you are comfortable with that, then start going a bit deeper on how can I improve the output to a prompt? How can I create a simple project on ChatGPT? And there's tons of information out there, but I think that's probably the thing, right? Because then you just otherwise you get too overwhelmed, you never start. There's so many tools, you are feel behind. There's so many people doing cool stuff with Cursor and creating their own apps and games and stuff. Like that's for 99% of people, that's too much. Like focus on how can you use it day to day? Can you help in your job? Can you help in your work? Great, start there. And then I think you get more excited with it. You also get better expectations, because some people think it does it all. You're gonna save, you're not gonna work and you're gonna make you tons of money. Other people think it doesn't work at all, right? And it's a bit in the middle right now. So
Yeah.
and in 6 months' time as well, another thing is that open mentality of something you cannot do now, probably in 6 months' time you can.
Yeah.
So just keep testing, keep doing. If it doesn't work really well, like the videos and stuff, everybody say, it's AI. In 6 months, you're not going to notice probably the difference between one and the other. So just keep trying. And I think those people will be the ones ahead. Those people then will be, when you get to the point where it's common to everyone, you have been at least playing for a while, at least, and specifically with your expertise in a certain niche, in a certain job. So you'll be the guy or the girl that at least were curious about it. And even I think on companies that we audited, we talk with, we see those people standing out from the founders, from the owners. Like, yeah, I know this guy is the guy that, he's working with ChatGPT a lot and helps everybody else. And that's another advantage for you to stand out, right? But I think probably that just follow a newsletter, follow a creator, get the news, and then start using on your day to day. And then if you want to do like specific things, then also go and search about, right? If you have a certain problem, go and try to find tools and stuff like that. But I think that's it. I don't know if I missing anything, but they can subscribe to the iBreak, by the way, if they want, and get the news as well.
We'll link to that in the description.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, but I think you already said, which is I think people think is overwhelming, but if you think properly, most of the tools do the same thing, right? They maybe change the design, maybe they are pretty, but as Louis said, like it doesn't matter to go super deep. And if you see someone probably doing, I did an automation that now makes, just don't believe as much. It's possible though to automate a lot of things. We have Luis and I. We have full automation that do the entire thing on our company, and it's just me and Luis just to know it. So you can run, and I think that's the future, which is just one or two people on the company running a super big company instead of 15 people, right? I think that's the goal. But I think people just see the influencers and talking about it, but they don't realize that the 90% of the other people doesn't know, right? So you always see that guy making, oh, this is unbelievable, but he's just one person. It's not the entire world, we can say that. And we are from Portugal, so we are behind the US. We know it. Europe is even a little bit behind it. So you have time. And as Luis said, don't overcomplicate it. They all pretty much do the same. Choose one, be confident, and yeah, just trying to apply. You'll see that you start putting on your phone and use the app on the phone, for example, and you start seeing that we talk a lot of people that they say we don't use Google anymore. I just go to ChatGPT. So you know what I mean? Like when you start doing all of the stuff and constantly, now you start getting better. But until then, yeah, go for ChatGPT, and we are not a sponsor of them, but yeah, just go ChatGPT and try as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Really just experiment with it. I like to enable voice mode with ChatGPT, and even when I'm driving in the car and I want to brainstorm, let's say, an upcoming article, I love using voice mode for it rather than typing everything out. Like that's my preferred way of using it. And I feel like it just by experimenting with it, just by trying stuff out, asking it questions, right? So if you don't know how to use it, you ask it how to use it. All of that will help you at least get more familiar with AI itself rather than, oh, let me push this to the side if you're intimidated by it, because it's here to stay, right? That's obvious. So I feel like staying up to date is super important. Now, what is your content creation process or workflow like? Because when I read your newsletters, the writing style, it's very personal. It feels like, it's not at all what you see sometimes with very generic AI created content. So what is your process like, your workflow like whenever you write a newsletter, for example?
Yes, I think like again I think that's kind of the key of AI content is probably one of the biggest talks right now, right? Like everybody wants to use AI on content. I think the main issue is that people want to just create exactly the final output on it. That's it. What we think is that it should be a middle term and it should always be a human input. That's what you differentiate from other people. Now, of course, with the AI video, everybody's saying that TikTok is flooded with AI videos. So I think what we will different from influencers to people to writers as well is just to give your own tone of voice, right? But at the same time, you can also use AI to help you speed up the process, right? So I think our main key, of course, we have the two sides, which is the curated side, which is basically our way to gather data. So on that side of the business, we already have sources that we look into it. As Louis said, we already know specific things where we have to look for about AI, so we know exactly those sources. But then we also automate a little bit. So not only Louis and I search for it. For example, we are talking about, we see something on Twitter. Oh, this just launched. We see the live, for example, on OpenAI, so we read it. So we do that manual thing as well. So we try to keep up it. But at the same time, for example, we have an automation that gathers all the news of AI. Just gather it. You know what I mean? Like, so we have both ways of doing it, not just us, but I think for us, we need time to just do those little tweaks on the newsletter and so on and just add it. Of course, I think one of the things of Substack, as you know it, there's not a lot of design for it, so it's more like a simple way to do it. I think that one of the key things that and I think was pretty early for me and Liz, which is first of all, if you want to create a newsletter, we just try to find the structure of it. That was like our key, which is we always go by sections. So if you saw in our newsletter, even the news, they are pretty much by section. Like you can read this. If you don't like the news, you can read the tools. We have a prompt of the week where you can try a new prompt. So we have all those sections. So I think when we do it, of course, is now we already do it for a really long time. So Luis and I can just speak about it. But normally is like this. So we have by section. We have an aggregator automation that can help us aggregate. Maybe we are missing an AI news that we didn't saw it. The same thing for AI tools. We have also some automation that grab us and give us like, oh, this AI tool just launched, so we know it as well. So we have a lot of like the research part, I would say, is a lot of automated because it can give more volume to us. Then for the structure, for example, we already have that structure in. So we actually have kind of a project and automation on ChatGPT that can just put it on our structure that we want. So it doesn't write everything, but can put what we aggregate and what we tell them exactly on the structure we want. So we will tell ChatGPT, like, this is the news that because we choose manually. So all the news, all the tools, everything that is bringing to us, we choose what we want because we give 5 news for, so we have like a number of it. So we search everything, we choose it manually, but then we give to ChatGPT, he creates a structure that we want, and then Luis and I go and change the tweaks at the end. So that's manually, we change this stuff. For example, the GIFs that we have, those kind of like the memes, for example, that's always chosen by us. That's kind of more funny way to give it more interaction. I think the GIFs. We have some people that say like they like the GIFs, some people they say they don't. But we think the GIFs, for example, just bring more animation to the email, especially the email side, not Substack itself, but the email side they actually move. So it's good for us to have more clickable rate and so on. So that's fine. So for example, as I say, it's a combination, but I think is what AI is supposed to do, which is the biggest time leverage and time consuming task is AI that does. And then we as the super site, the supervisor, go there and just choose the things that we want and we tweak what we want. But it takes less time than just creating everything ourselves and every single text and so on. So that's one point. The other thing is the tutorials. That takes us most of the time right now, to be honest, for us, because even the research, it is to be done by us. So normally we use ChatGPT and Claude to create again the backbone of the tutorial, because if you see the tutorials, they are pretty similar on structure. We want to keep like kind of a structure of the tutorials, but the research in this case we do it manually because it's the value side of the business, right? And you cannot just say to ChatGPT, oh, what is, give me one tutorial. He will not understand pretty much like you give like a general thing. So that one, for example, with the ChatGPT assistant, we need to search a little bit. So we do research, we go to place like Reddit, YouTube, or ourselves as well. Like if we did something on the week that we really, we use this prompt. So that's kind of the opposite, which is the research is on us, the structure we help with AI, but yeah, it's a little bit more time consuming. But again, it's where we make money, so, it's worth the time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you said about using AI. It's always the combination of human input and AI, right? So I think maybe people might have a misconception that, oh, I'm just gonna prompt it this way and now everything will be done by AI. Well, because when I look at my own content creation workflow with AI, it's me. It's first of all, I had like 100+ articles on Medium back in the day. So I exported all of those, fed it into ChatGPT. Like, this is my writing style. Like, make sure you emulate this writing style. And then what I do for every new article that I want to write or newsletter, it's just first I ramble with voice mode for half an hour, speaking my article into existence. And then I basically use ChatGPT as a ghostwriter, where it's like you now have half an hour of my words combined with 100 articles that I written myself, that I wrote myself.
Yeah.
Now, like, help me write this in a way that is in my writing style and it flows, and edit out all the fluff. But even then, it's never a perfect outcome. It's always still, okay, this is now solid. It saves me a lot of time. Now let me still do some manual editing to make sure it all, really feels like me. I think that keeping that in mind for people is really useful, right? It's like AI is a tool. It's not there to do 100% of that work in those cases.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we always try to even talk on AI audit, which is AI is supposed to just help you out. Not, and that's all the misconception, which is AI will replace everybody, blah, 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 all that stuff. But what we think is that, of course, it's getting really good at some stuff, but it's just for, as I said, if you take you 2 hours to do something, now it take you the 1 hour and a half is for the AI, and you take the 30 minutes to just actually see it, if it's correct, just changing a little bit, because that, if it's all AI, I think people start to notice it as well. People are getting used to it.
Yeah,
that's number one. And then the number two is that if the value is there, to be honest, and I have to be like, we see some even YouTube, for example, faceless YouTube, that that is AI. but the value is there. Like the person took the time to go to their screen, and teach something, right? But the it's AI voice, for example, is like an AI after, but the value is there. So if the value is there, if it's your angle or you are teaching something, I think people don't care as much if it's AI or not, or if it's your tone of voice. Because when you say that, oh yeah, I put on ChatGPT is my tone of voice, people will be like, maybe that's AI, right? Like you're putting your tone of voice. But technically it's not. It's just like it's still your own angle. It's still like, even if you do the voice memos, right? Like it's still you talking about it. You're just helping, like instead of taking 3 hours to write about it, it just starts to writing the backbones of it. And that's what we love about AI, because, and even so, we can give more value into it, because if it was not AI helping us, we'll not be able to, launch 2 tutorials a week for that, for example, or we, you know what I mean? Like, so it also gives us value to give more volume to people, to give more value to people just using it. Not 100%, I'll say, 50-50, or I'll say 80, 730, I'll be honest to that. But
And to be honest, a lot of in Jerry, like you probably know as well, like we're not English native, so
Yeah.
even the fact that ChatGPT can help us at least
Yeah.
fix some English grammar mistakes or something like that, that's already super helpful to us. That will take us back in the days ages to go to Google and make sure that the sentence is accurate or grammarly, or even the fact, even if AI doesn't do anything rather than just make sure the text is well written and it makes sense and the expressions and stuff are great, that's already time saving. Like it just saves us so much time. So that's already
100%.
worth it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I have that quite a lot where, AI helps me formulate a sentence just better because I, at that moment, don't have the vocabulary ready, or it's not top of mind because English
Yeah.
is not my first language, and I'm sure you can relate. So it's super, super useful for that for sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
As of this moment, what are some of your favorite AI tools personally that you use almost on a daily basis?
I think, well, ChatGPT, for sure. We've been changing back and forth, from Claude, Gemini. We test quite a few, but I think ChatGPT is one we have a lot of our stuff, a lot of our projects and custom GPTs, and then is the one with more balanced stuff. So he also has the Sora and some interesting stuff that we like to use a lot. So I would say ChatGPT, Perplexity for research. I don't remember last time I went to Google, unfortunately, for specific things. But I'll say Perplexity, ChatGPT, Phantom, which is just an AI note taker, just for our meetings and stuff. It's like we probably use it every single day, and it could be any AI note taker. We use Phantom. And then I think so those are kind of the main ones. Then we have a couple of like specific tools that are not, the main thing is not AI, but they have AI, like make.com and NA10. We use it every day for all our automations as well. Instantly AI, which is for our outreach, which again, the main feature is not AI, but it has AI of it. And then I think lately we've been trying a lot with the creative side. So I think last couple of weeks has been a lot of Sora 2 and VO 3.1, which we usually use Flow from Google. Sometimes we test other stuff, and we just got like we're just testing AGen as well. And again, was the tool, by the way, we didn't mention that, but if people are curious, was the tool we used for the Facebook ads to use UGC to help us with decreasing the cost of acquisition. That was AGen. So we're using AGen a lot. But yeah, I think so. Probably I will, if I show you my tabs, I have a tab on Chrome which says AI, which is, it just opens a lot of them. I even we have this weird habit of pasting the same prompt across them all to check the outputs and stuff. So we spend a bit of time with that, but I would say day to day, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and then a couple of Make, and then a 10 for automations, and then I think trying a little bit of stuff like
We're actually trying to simplify, right? Like we started a lot, and one of the things Luis and I are doing is what we call cutting on our company, which is, oh, we don't need this, we don't need this. As Luis said, Make and NA10, it's a really help for us because it's basically we're trying to automate as much as possible because this is the two of us. But it's kind of funny, right? Like we do all AI all the time. People probably like, oh, it's overwhelming. But as Luis said, we said like 3 platforms. on the day basis, right? It doesn't need, and that's, I think that's the key, which is when you start doing a lot, what you do is like you have one or two of choice. And then this week, as Louis said, oh, this week we are testing Sora. So every week is Sora. You know what I mean? Like, but if you ask us, like, what is the daily, it's just one or two. And that's what we feel it's the way to just don't get overwhelmed. Because we found out, as we said, like we have everything on ChatGPT. Can Claude do the same? Have we tested Claude for like almost 6 months? Yes, but ChatGPT can do the same. Maybe now, for example, if we need to code or do a coding, now, for example, we are trying a lot Lovable as well. I don't know if you know it, Lovable for website and landing pages. So you basically can prompt and create you a entire website and landing pages and coding as well and so on. But we are testing. So on the we are on the Pro plan. We paid, I think, like on the third month right now. But it's not like as Louis said, he forgot about it. Like it's just one that we are testing, not the one we are using every single day, and we have on the phone. So I think yeah, I think that's the key. And of course, as you said, it's a difference between using AI on AI or a platform that sometimes have AI. So on our tech stack, we have Slack for our communication. We use ClickUp as well for project management. They are not necessarily AI. They have AI, but it's more for automation and so on. But we try to keep it simple. To be honest, like I think our goal is to be as linear as, you know what I mean, like as simple as possible. I think too many things as well keep you have to pay different stuff, you have to go from different places. So Luis and I are trying to, you know, be as clean as possible, try to do most of the time, like our Slack is the one that runs the business. Like we have so many notifications right now, which is we don't need to go to the platform to understand if something happened. For example, our outreach, when a lead comes in, it goes to Slack. So you know what I mean? Like I don't necessarily need to go and jump to the platforms to see it. Like so we try to centralize everything on one. But yeah, keep it simple. I think that's the.
And we use a lot of APIs, Jerry. So we use more APIs than the actual tools. Like so, we use Claude, Sonnet, and Bexty, and even like the models for imagery and video, but we use them through the API, so through the automations via N8N and Make. So a lot of the times we don't use the actual tool or platform itself. We just use it via the automations, and that's also one way we can test a lot of stuff a bit quicker, is because we use it via the API, so we can test a lot of different things quicker than just, you know, paying for each individual platform and jump on each individual platform and test. So that's also something we try to do.
Makes sense. Yeah. So one last question for the both of you, and this is a question I ask everyone on the podcast. If you could go back in time, what lesson or insight would you share with your younger entrepreneurial self? So a business lesson, a marketing lesson, entrepreneurship lesson, maybe one each for you.
Who is going to start or?
Yeah, go ahead. I can.
Okay. Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna say if you want.
Well, it's a couple of things, to be honest. As Louis said, our background is on paid side, so on paid advertisements, like on the traditional agency. I think that the first thing that we are trying to keep up as well is on content. I think if I had to talk with the number sales, like you should have started sooner because it's more competitive. I think content for people that are watching us that are like younger or are starting out, I think you should build a kind of a personal brand or whatever, like at least document what you're doing, even if you don't like it, because I think that will be the future on content. It can even be AI content. Like I'll be open to that, but just to create content on an audience, right? And the other thing will be, I think, well, now with our experience, will be we should have created a newsletter sooner. I think that's because if you think about, and a lot of people are afraid that because of AI, the emails will get summarized. So people are a little bit afraid that newsletter will be gone because Google just summarize what you think, and they will say like, "Oh, this is kind of a promotion site, so it doesn't make sense." But we are not super agreeable. And if you think about it, email is probably one of the platforms that stay here for forever. I will say, even without like SEO goes up and down, paid Meta goes up and down. Email is staying here for a really long time, and it's like your asset, right? Like if I'm really big on YouTube and YouTube shuts me down tomorrow, I'm done, right? Like I have nothing else to do. With a newsletter, I can just export my subscribers, and if I launch on another platform, they don't care, right? They care about you. Like you can reach them directly. I think there is a lot of challenge at the moment for newsletters, but yeah, if I possible to start sooner, we will start sooner on other things, even for paid side, because I think it's the perfect top of the funnel thing you can have to keep people close to you without spending too much money on that. And I think it gives so much credibility, so much, yeah. And it's kind of funny because it doesn't matter if you have 10 people or 100 or 1,000. Like if people read you for a while, I think it's the same as YouTube. So people are starting on YouTube right now and really like YouTube. But as I said, I think it's safer, it's an asset, and you can bring it everywhere, right? Like you can just put it on your CSV file on your folder, and it goes with you. And yeah, so I think that's probably the one. Like, and Luis and I think one of our goals is to have like 10 newsletters or 20 newsletters. We know a guy actually. I think he went on a really big podcast on YouTube. Like he has, I think, 5 newsletters and lives he loves it, right? And I think it's a really good model, to be honest. I think it's you have all the boxes uh, to do it. I think was that the one movie that you were saying, or
No, no,
no?
but that's a good one. That's a good one. No, I think for me, and I think something that Rui and I also discussed a lot, especially for the younger self, right, will be to look at things with a different time frame. Like especially younger people now, they want like they launch a video on TikTok, you want to be a celebrity tomorrow. You want to be to expo tomorrow. You launch a Substack, you need to get 10,000 tomorrow. Like that doesn't happen. Yes, you can be the lucky 90.9, 99.9% is the same as winning the lottery, but like we failed so much. Like sometimes stuff doesn't work. It just takes us too long. And I think in the beginning, in the early days, we would switch pretty quickly. This doesn't work. Let's start a website. Let's start SEO. Let's start all the stuff. And I think a couple of things. So the newsletter was more of like for fun and also kept us longer. So we would write anyway 5 times a week for 10 people. It doesn't really matter, right? But I think and I think as getting older, it was more around, I think, the time frame. So when we talk about like paid subscribers, we think about where we want to be in a year time, not next month, not next week, because we know, it will take time. And I think, as Rio was saying, on the paid subscribers, sometimes we think, the revenue per user is so low and we need thousands and stuff to make sense. But when you look at the growth and you start looking at, well, in a year, we may get there. And in 2 years' time, I think we'll get there. And I think it also takes a little bit of the overwhelm from people. That sometimes you're overwhelmed because you're trying stuff that doesn't work for a week. And then, that those 3 videos didn't work. You give up, right? And I think start thinking about that a bigger time frame where if I do this for 1 year, will that make any changes? At least I will learn something in a year, but I can guarantee you, if you write on LinkedIn, if you create a Substack and you do it every single day for a year, it can be a lot better or a lot worse, but you'll be different than you are right now, right? And I think that was probably and Rina have been doing online stuff since we were 17, so like 20 years or something ago, 10, 15 years ago. I'm already putting us too old than we are, but maybe 10, 12 years ago. But I think, and I think that was a lot of our mistakes were that. Like we were like, this doesn't work for 2 days, you give up, you start something else. And I think you can apply that on Substack, right? If you start writing for a week and then, you don't grow, you give up. And I think if you start thinking about approaching that where, okay, I will start on Substack and I'll give it 6 months, I'll give it a year, right? And then, yes, if you try it all, if you do it at all and it didn't work, fine, go and do something else. But I think is the time frame, and I think that comes with getting older, right? And just planning for that as well, because a lot of people don't plan. A lot of people like, yeah, or I give up, or I will quit my job to do that in a week, and then you get frustrated, right? You get frustrated because things don't happen, and then the problem with social media is you see other people doing that, and luckily they got it, right? Like imagine on TikTok, that guy has 3 videos and 1 million views. I put 100 and I get 100. You know what I mean? And also social media, I think amplifies that. You see just the 1% that got lucky. You don't see the 99 that gave up. So
survivorship bias, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just say stuck to it and be consistent, right? That's the key thing. Be consistent and stick it for a while. And I think, and you'll get those little momentums in time. So use those momentums to grow. And then when it's down, believe that it will change if you continue,
Yeah,
right? So,
and I think is that why a newsletter can be a good thing. I'm not saying it could be a good thing for people watching, but I think it has so many ways. Like you actually focus on the audience, not on selling the service. You know what I mean? Like, so if you have then an audience on a niche, you can then have so many ways to monetize, as we spoke, that then you don't just try one thing and fail. So when we say focus, like if we focus on newsletter, it doesn't mean that we don't sell 10 different things, and you can try 10 different ways, right? But the consistent is always on the audience, right? Like on be somewhere. And I think the newsletter, or like, of course, like it takes time. As Louis said, we saw some people that stay stuck on the 10 subscribe for a while, but you can always try. Like, don't be afraid to monetize right away. Like we started right away saying, hey, for $20 you can be on our newsletter. Like maybe people will pay for it. Like you don't know what people will think about it, and maybe you have a skill that I would love to know, and I would love to pay for it. Even if I'm the only subscriber you have, maybe you do something really cool and I want to pay for it. So yeah, I think that's the key.
yeah,
To do
don't be
that.
afraid to charge as well, probably. I think in the beginning as well, our product and stuff, we always keep adding free stuff because we think it's not good enough. Like people will not pay for this, right? Like you'll not pay to get these tutorials. And then we start realizing when talking to people that what seems easy for you is actually not easy for a lot of other people. But akin to, and you, I think you have a lot of that problem, right? Especially when you're building an audience, is no one will pay for this, right? That this is so basic that you're not, but it's basic for you because you're doing it every single day, not the other people. So I think don't be afraid to test and try and monetize your skills, and I think you'll have a surprise because you'll start noticing that a lot of people will be interested in learning what you know, and for you it's simple, for other people it's not. There's always a skill, there's always something, right, that even if you're young, that other people don't, or at least you're passionate about, that other people don't bother to go and search, and you do. So I think, yeah, that's probably we probably said too much of different things, but I think we just tried and failed so much during the last 10, 15 years that I think there's definitely a lot of things that we would try differently. But yeah, I think that's part of the journey as well. That's part of the learning. You need that.
More lessons is more value, right? So I love it for sharing all of this, and especially also related to your last point, right? It's what they call the curse of knowledge. Is you know a lot about your area of expertise, and therefore you might assume it's common sense or everyone else knows or it's basics. But then it's like, oh, 95% of people don't know, and this is actually what they're looking for, and they would happily pay you like to learn it. So don't be afraid to charge for it, and don't undervalue your own knowledge and expertise. I think that's a great lesson to add to it for sure. Where should people go if they want to learn more from you and what you're doing?
Well, they can join the newsletter, the I break on Substack, and then we also are on X, I'd say, so Twitter, on X and LinkedIn as well. It's where we share some of our stuff. But I think Substack now we're getting a lot into the nodes and the community there. So I think Substack is probably the first step, the first way to go.
Yeah. I think just search for the iBreak, you'll find us for sure, and we will sell you something down the road. So it's fine.
Awesome. I'll make sure to link to it in the description below to the newsletter and your profile so people can check it out. Rui, Louis, I really want to thank you for jumping on the podcast today. You shared a lot of valuable insights. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry. It was a pleasure. It was really cool to be here.
Thank you, Jerry. It was great. Thank you for having us.